Why do you use the term freedom? What does this mean for a stone?
We shouldn't pretend or make this believe that we have a picture of reality which is complete. Come on, it's not incomplete for some details, it's majestically incomplete.
The problem with Chalmers and guys like him is, of course, as you said, they mystify the question. They first dig a gap, and then they're surprised. Oh my God! But I cannot
Exactly.
jump. Yeah, but you digged up the
Build a gap,
yeah.
and then you're surprised that there is a gap. There was a time where science and physics in particular seemed to offer a foundational view of reality called materialism, made by an empty space with material little stones moving around pushed by forces. Quantum physics completely destroyed that. For sure, physical reality is not that. The phenomena that are clearly incompatible with that. Now, these phenomena are often described in terms of observer phenomena. What I think is a crucial idea here is to not be confused by words. Observer, the notion of observation, which is used in quantum physics, even if some confused people say the opposite, has nothing to do with consciousness, has nothing to do with a specific brain of something like us or the subject of anything like that. It's observer in a very simple sense. When we say the velocity of the moon relative to the Earth is a certain value, the Earth is not conscious. It's just a way of saying that velocity is relational. If we say the velocity of the Earth with respect to an observer in the sun has this value, you don't need an observer in the sun. It's just relatively to the sun. So forget about consciousness being at the root of quantum mechanics. That's a profoundly confused idea, or at the rootness of reality. However, and that's a point that Slavoj was making, it's the other way around. Once we realize that to understand the physical reality, we need this relationalism. We need to say, and that's what quantum theory is telling us, that the property of an object makes sense relative to another object. We have a materialism, if you want, much wider than, much rich than the naive materialism of the 18th century of particles moving around, which include the possibility that reality has actual this relational aspect, out of which one extremely specific particular version of it is what comes about when a number of biological things happening and then cultural things happening, and we have our brain. So if reality is itself relational in this way, it's much less surprising that we can talk about reality with respect to us in a way that doesn't contradict science and doesn't contradict our sort of subjective perspectival view of reality. Now, let me go to the main point here: experience and loops and gaps. We are in the middle of all sorts of loops, right? The world that we know, it's our information about the world, what we know about the world. Okay, yet we're part of this world. You can look at me, and for you, I'm a part of the world. Which world? Well, the same world which I describe in my information. There's a singularity here, and there are plenty of these singularities. Slavoj mentioned the one about language. Everything is language, etc. But language is an aspect of reality, and so on and so forth. Well, what's wrong in singularity? That's our understanding. That's our human making sense of reality. It's full of singularities. When you pretend to not have a singularity, you get confused. And second point, ignorance. We are largely ignorant about the world. We don't know what's going to happen in the future. I don't know what's going to happen to me tomorrow. Okay, nobody knows what's going to happen to him or her tomorrow. So the large part, we shouldn't pretend or make this believe that we have a picture of reality which is complete. Come on, it's not incomplete for some details. It's majestically incomplete. We just have little hints of what reality about has. The future is completely unknown to us. The point that Slava often, and when the future comes, we rearrange the past, as Slava is telling us, to make sense of the future. But it's new, it's experience. Choose a point in the circles and put it a fundamental. You need a gap and a mystery, because you don't explain that point from that perspective. You need something else for explaining it.
Thank you. Alenka?
I just wanted to add, because what Carlo just said, this fact that our knowledge is majestically incomplete, I guess what we would add, I think Slavoj would also agree here, is we perhaps could also speculate that the reality itself that we try to know is majestically incomplete. That it's not just our knowledge, that there is something that, and this is precisely where the interesting question of knowledge starts, which is not simply description of reality, but also has a kind of more intimate connection to this reality itself. It's not simply, as I said before, this kind of a mirroring or observation. And of course, I understand very much this point that, I'm completely ignorant of quantum physics. This is really Slavoj.
We all know thing. You don't have to repeat, obviously.
But I understand very well that observer here means like a reference point or something like this, which is, of course, not how the subjectivity is meant in this philosophical or whatever psychoanalytic way that we use it. It's not simply a reference point or a perspective point. Precisely, subject usually don't. Lacan even has this interesting point. When you look at things in reality, where you are, it's not your perspective. You are looking at something. It is the point of the gaze which is out there and looks back at you. This is where you are really as a subject. So it's not the same as perspective. It's not a point. It's not the same as reference point. It is this kind of highly speculative proposition, but which nevertheless I think has some material proof in the way in which things happen and evolve and we think of them.
Can I maybe ask, very benevolent, I'm a Stalinist with a human face, like once they wanted socialism with a human face, but a very serious question to you, Carlo. I noticed that when you, in your polemics against, if I will simplify you very much. I hope I at least got your basic point. When you oppose I use consciously a wrong term, objective reality of wave function, you said that waves are the way for us to calculate. And then at that point, I hope I will quote you correctly, you wrote somewhere that the state vector becomes a description of the correlation of some degrees of freedom in the observer. Doesn't this mean nonetheless that before you observe something, but you know that will observe you, somehow there are different options or decisions in you? Will I observe this, that, and so on, and so on? Now, now I will appear a naive idealist. Why do you use here the term freedom? What does this mean for a stone? I don't think the stone has, will I approach in this way or in that way? Doesn't this term of freedom imply a notion of life? And I'm here very precise. I'm, like you, totally opposed to that bullshit of idiots who, if we take power, me and you, Carlo, they get instantly a free first-class ticket to Gulag. Those idiots who think, observer, that what quantum physics calls different names, incompleteness, indeterminacy, that this is the foundation of freedom. No? So you don't mean why did, now my Stalinist point, why, in what sense did you use the term some degree of freedom? Does this apply to a stone also?
I'm not a Stalinist.
You don't make jokes with Stalinists, you know.
No, I'm not a Stalinist with a nice face. I'm a Leninist with a nasty face. The degree of freedom, freedom here means lack of constraints. It's an extremely weak notion of freedom. If you don't know what's going to happen about something, first thing you consider that free to happen one way or the other. So freedom here, it's a very weak thing. In some sense, nature is look. Physics is modal. Physics is all about if this, then that. Physics is not a description. Science is not a description of what happened, but physics in particular, there's something called phase space, which all the possibilities. You don't know the possibilities. You look at you go and approach a system, and it could be this way or that way. You don't know a priori. This is the majestic incompleteness of our knowledge, or the freedom of nature with respect to us. So a degree of freedom in physics, it's just a name you give to the open possibilities. When I say that there is a system and an observer, okay, and I talk about the degrees of freedom, I'm using this language with respect, thinking that I'm an external observer, which can interact, or internal system, which can interact with both. And with respect to me, I don't know what is this, I don't know what is that. But if I know that there is a correlation, I know that one knows about the other one.
This fundamental question whether we can eventually resolve the relationship between the self and the world around us, you already think this has been solved from what you've said already? We already understand how the self is embodied in the world.
Let me give a precise answer to that, my understanding. Well, the way I might be wrong, of course, but my understanding. There's a guy, David Chalmers, who made a very interesting point, separating two problems of consciousness that he called the easy problem and the hard problem. What he called the easy problem is just the physics of the brain, just understanding all that happens in a human being's when a human being does what he does. And then the hard problem in his language is the following. Suppose we have understood everything there is to say physically about the brain, okay? There is some other open problem, okay? Are there zombies in the way that Slava was using? Could it be that something is exactly physically like me in all the minute detail of the atoms, and yet mentally different, okay? So there is something else. Now, I think that this distinction by David Chalmers is brilliant. It just misnamed two problems. The easy is horrendously complicated. We are monstruously complicated machines, of course. So we have no idea what happened inside of our brain. We just have a vague picture from outside, and we call it Carlo, we call it Alenka, we call it Jacques. But of course, all sorts of things happen in there which we don't know, which is the normal situation of us. Okay, so that's what David called the easy problem. Is horrendously hard to understand what happened. No problem. If you have understood all that, the open problem, well, that's easy. That's just a confusion, confusing ourselves, making ghosts into machines. There are no zombies. If there's another copy of Slavoj, not just looks the same from the outside, but such that inside, every single physical detail of him would be like him, he would be like him. I mean, he would have a subjectivity.
Yeah. So you can't have a replica of a Slavoj which lacks the consciousness, so it necessarily has to emerge. Is that the right way of putting it? Like, you couldn't have...
Well, emergence is it's a world which is all possible use and misused. So one gets confused when we say, if I say yes and no, somebody jumps up and say, no, but by emergence, I mean something else. So I think that, Slav is real. It has a conscious experience. It's a qualia. It's all that stuff. And these things are real. There's nothing illusory in all that. And these things are the name to the complex phenomenon, which is lava. And there are other complex phenomena which are very complicated, and we describe it with correct language. The language is Slava is angry. Slava is talking to me. I like Slava. I don't like that. That's an appropriate language. If I wanted a different language, all the atoms and all the photons and all things, I can't because it's far too complicated. In principle, I couldn't, but it would be stupid, right? If your car breaks and you bring it to the mechanics, you don't bring it to a particle physicist to fix it. You bring it to mechanics. That's the right level of knowledge to understand your car. The right level of knowledge to understand with Slava is just talking with him. But there's no contradiction between mechanics being able to fix my car and the particle physics that makes my car function in that way. And there's no contradiction between the very complicated physical picture, which is relational, is intricate, it is difficult, quantum fields, quantum space, who knows? We don't know it. And Slava as a human being with a complexity that we assign to human beings.
Okay. Slavoj, do you want to come in on the
but would you agree, then I answer you both. You know, the problem with Chalmers and guys like him is, of course, as you said, they mystify the question. They first dig a gap, and then they are surprised. Oh my God! But I cannot jump. Yeah, but you digged up
the gap, and then you're surprised that there is a gap.
Yeah,
that's exactly the diagnosis.
So don't tell me how much I will pay you for agreeing with me. Sorry. Then would you agree with this? I have great trust in cognitivism, brain sciences, that maybe, now I will make a very precise point, that maybe they will discover some strange shift in our brain neuronal biological mechanism which gave birth to awareness. But I don't think there was any teleology with it. My sympathy is with those, there are a couple of them, neurologists who, I love this theory, who claim something went wrong biologically. And then the brain developed not as an adaptation, but what Stephen Jay Gould called exaptation. Something went, it's like, to give you a popular example that I like to use, like French cuisine. Why do we love it? Because it's all based on failures, You do wine, the wine goes wrong, fermented, you say, oh my God, champagne, No, it was a mistake. Or those bad-smelling cheese, they ruined it. I like this idea that if we will come at the origin of what triggered consciousness, there will not be a deep divine intervention or any teleology. Something very stupid, probably even malfunctioning happened, which then triggered a process well beyond it. I don't believe in teleology here.
To continue watching this video, click the link in the top left or in the description below.
With a free trial, you can enjoy the full talk and thousands more.
Thank you for being part of the conversation.